deadline live stream a little bit later than usual with a 1:30 p.m. UK time deadline. Quite nice actually, just to enjoy the mornings, go for a nice dog walk, even though the weather right now in the UK is pretty terrible. So already some people in the chat. Let me know if you're tuning in right now. Let me know where you're tuning in from in the world. And of course, let me know if you have any questions going into this Game Week 33 deadline. Because of course, it is a double game week and it's a real important game week because some managers are activating their bench boost. Some are going for the free hit, triple captain. Some people are on the last week of their assistant manager. So if you're not activating a chip right now, I'll be really interested to know in the chat because it does feel like it is quite a pivotal game week. And if you're going without a chip, then it could be quite interesting to see how you're going to perform against those that do. But again, play it your own way. Some managers are not in a position where a chip is necessary for them. So I can see the usual people in the chat. Taylor, hope you're doing well. Mortal Technique, Aiden, Gordon, Heather, Gary, Hussein, hope you guys are doing wonderful on this Saturday morning. So on today's live stream, of course, we're going to be talking about my own team. I haven't actually made a move yet. I've got 3 free transfers, so I've got plenty of scope with my team and a lot of different players that are a consideration. So we're going to talk about those. We're going to talk about captaincy because that's really big. I want to give a little bit of time for assistant manager because I'm conscious that some people are asking that question and haven't exactly given an answer to it. So I want to cover that off as well. And most importantly, just answer all of your questions. We got loads of time. I think we got like 2 hours until the deadline. I won't be here for the whole 2 hours, probably an hour and a half, but hopefully that will be enough to cover off the main stuff. It's also worth noting, of course, that with these 3 p.m. kickoffs and the deadline being at 1:30 p.m. UK time, we have actually got a possibility of getting that Man City early team news. So for those that have Savinho, those that have people like, for example, Foden, I think it's worth actually holding off as late as possible to see what news we are going to get. And then if you don't get it by, let's say, 1:20 or something, then maybe it might be the time just to be done with it and just make the moves regardless. So let's get into some of the questions right now. And obviously, if you're tuning in right now, drop a like on the stream. Always massively appreciated. So Taylor's asking, 1 free transfer. Who do I take out of Burn, Savinho, Isak, or take a hit to get rid of more than one? Also, I'm using bench boost this week. Okay, so of the players that you discussed right now, naturally, like, I'm not going to advise getting rid of Savinho. And personally, I just think Burn is the obvious one. But Taylor, really difficult for me to answer right now because I don't know the rest of your defenders. So if you only have 1 Arsenal coverage and you are free hitting in Game Week 34, then it'd be pretty simple for me. Burn to Saliba or Burn to Kivior. I think Isak still offers great value in the future. And I think Savinho isn't a sell unless we get the news that he is benched. And then we have to have that deliberation. Aiden's asking, morning, Palmer, Kluivert and Gabriel are all being traded out. Who should I bring in for the 3? I have my free hit for next week. Okay, so look, if I was in that position right now, and we've touched on it previously with single game weekers, I still think Saka is the route to go for. So the 3 that I'm going to mention have been literally the 3 most bought players or up there. And I'm going to say to you, Palmer to Saka, I'm going to say Kluivert to Morgan Rogers or Rashford if you want to chase some upside. And Gabriel to Kivior, Saliba. It's so boring. And it really is very template. But unfortunately, double game weeks do then force template moves because everybody's buying from the 4 same teams. And there are only usually about 3 to 5 viable options from each team. So by elimination process, you kind of end up with the same sort of players. So Aiden, that is the kind of direction I would be looking at. And unfortunately, yes, it is template, but I think you just got to think of it as I am bringing in players who are good. And I don't think, for example, because it's template, they are then bad. Do you know what I mean by that? I think people try and look for alternatives when alternatives aren't necessarily required. And I see we've got a super chat here from Scott. Scott, always a regular on the streams. I massively do appreciate it, my friend. Hope you're having a great morning as well. And Scott's asked, I'm bench boosting, which is important context. I have Reyes, Saliba, Munoz, Vardial. So Saka, Salah, Rogers, Sarr, and Mateta, Isak, Marmoush. Doubling goalkeeper, Savinho with a double, Konsa with a double, and Bradley with a really nice fixture this week. 1 free transfer, 1 million advice, please. Scott, first and foremost, could you just let me know in the chat if you are... You've already done it. Thank you, my friend. So you've already said that you are free hitting next week. Okay, so that's really helpful. So what in the current game week can we upgrade? So I think realistically, let's just look at your single game weekers. You've currently got Salah with a single game weeker. There's no world you're getting rid of that. We've got Isak with a single game weeker. Don't feel that inclined to get rid of because someone like a Watkins doesn't offer guaranteed game time. So right now, mate, I'm trying to look at your team and ask myself, who is actually going to be sold to somebody who is better? I think Munoz is a problem. I think Sarr is a bit of a problem. And Mateta can be. But enough to sell him this week? I'm going to say no. So right now, Scott, my advice would be hold off to see if we get any Man City team news. If we do, and Savinho's benched, there would be a consideration actually maybe to go for a punt of Savinho to Jared Bowen, because Jared Bowen at home against Southampton versus Savinho probably getting 90 minutes over the double if he was to be benched. I prefer Bowen in that case. Otherwise, what I would say to you is, could you possibly go for Sarr to maybe a... You've already got the triple up on Aston Villa as well. No, Scott, I'm going to be honest with you. I think you're pretty stacked in your team. And I actually would look to just roll your transfer. And the reason being is your team's looking fantastic this week. And what is great about it is it means you can roll your transfer and then in game week 36, hopefully have a few transfers in the bank to allow you to navigate the upcoming potential double game week. Now, what I want to do is just quickly pop this on the screens for people that are watching, obviously. And I want to give it a bit of an indication on why, if you have 5 free transfers as an example, actually keeping those transfers in the bank for the foreseeable future is actually beneficial. So this is from FPL team. Shout out to Pete, and obviously in collaboration with Planet FPL. Obviously James, one of the goats around. So this is a projection right now from 36 onwards. But I just wanted to make it clear that if you're sat there right now with 5 free transfers and you're trying to use all your 5, there's actually real advantage of having transfers for the back end of the season. So what we can see here is game week 33 is a double, as we know already. Game week 34 is a blank. Game week 35 is a single game week. That is clear. Game week 36 is still up for grabs. Now, based on the bookies' odds, we have got it as Aston Villa and Man City to progress to the final of the FA Cup. And if that was to happen, it would mean then a double for Aston Villa, a double for Bournemouth, a double for Man City, and a double for Spurs. And that is because Aston Villa play Spurs and Man City play Bournemouth in game week 37, which clashes with the FA Cup final. Therefore, the game goes back to game week 36. That is if they progress to the FA Cup final. So that's why I really do think keeping some transfers in the bank if you can is actually really helpful, because then what it allows you to do is then pivot your team towards some of these teams that double, while also being able to navigate the game week 37 blank. That is why I think it's quite important to keep those stashed away. I have not gone through the questions here, so let's go through those right now. Aiden saying, the question already answered. Gordon, what's up, Nacho? Hope you're doing well, mate. Looking to transfer Savinho out if early team news suggests he doesn't start. Short of funds for Bowen. Any starter alternatives which are 7 million or below, bench boosting this week. Okay, Gordon, so obviously I don't know what the rest of your team looks like. First, I'll be asking you, do you have triple Villa? If you don't, Rodgers or Rashford seem like a really easy sideways move to capitalise on that double in 33 and the potential doubler in 36. Outside of that, then, outside of 7 million and below, I am not in love with a lot. And in that case, I probably would just stick with Savinho and hope that if he's benched against Everton, he gets significant minutes against a rotated, possibly a rotated Aston Villa team, maybe. Heather, morning. Bad weather in Ireland too. Yes, Heather, I bet it's all across the UK right now. It's a joke, and hope you're doing well. And Heather, it's just popped up that you have become an FPL fan supporter, which is amazing. Super generous, Heather. Thank you so much. Obviously, later on in the season as well. So that is amazing. And you've always been a regular on these streams. So that is amazing. Thank you for joining the gang. I need to get on it. So I will try and drop a message later on. But thank you so much for the support on all these streams. And that is just amazing. So thank you so much. Gary saying, morning, sir. Hope you're doing well, Gary. Hussein saying, Saka or Marmoush captaincy. We'll come on to captaincy in a bit. But my current overview of captaincy is all down to minutes, because Marmoush, Saka both have a double. I just think Marmoush gets slightly more minutes than Saka. So I'm currently leaning towards Marmoush myself. Lucas is saying, is it worth going from Semenyo to Rodgers for a -4 for bench boost this week and a free hit next week? Okay, so if we take a look at the fixtures here, Bournemouth are away against Crystal Palace, not an incredible fixture. Then they play in game week 34, but of course they're away against Arsenal. You might free hit. Game week 35, not amazing, away against Arsenal, but that will be in between the Champions League games, it's worth noting. Game week 36 could be a double for Bournemouth. Is it enough of a reason for you to keep hold of Semenyo? Probably not. I think Semenyo to Rodgers is not an essential move at all, but I do think it will pay off over the next 3 game weeks. Heather's asking, Isak away or Mbeumo at home? Ooh, is that to start in your team? So, of course, right now we have got Newcastle away against Aston Villa. That is a really exciting game. 2 informed teams. I'm expecting goals in that game, is worth noting. And then we have got Mbeumo at home against at home against Brighton. Honestly, I think regardless, you have to accept that if you bench either of those, it is going to cause you a problem because either one could deliver. If I said to you right now, one got a goal and assist, you wouldn't be surprised at all. So first I'm asking you, have you got the bench boost available? But I can see here you've got your assistant manager chip active. You're going to stick with Glasner as assistant manager, which I appreciate. I think they could get the result against Bournemouth. Don't expect anything against Arsenal because, of course, Palace will rotate in preparation for the FA Cup. If I had a free transfer, I would probably go to Arteta if I didn't already have 3 players outfield for Arsenal. Reece saying, hello, mate. I have 2 free transfers, bench active. Kusanov, Livramento, and Murphy out. Yeah. Rodgers, Kivior, and Diaz in for a -4. Or do I keep Murphy for Rodgers? Okay, so yeah, I probably agree with that. I think the -4 is never, ever ideal. However, I do think it probably is worth it for this game week and beyond. So yeah, I do agree with that move. I think it is good, mate. Rodgers to Murphy. Rodgers to Murphy. No. Murphy to Rodgers. Yes. Chris, morning, Nacho. I've gone for Marino as captain. Chris, hopefully that pays off, mate. I don't love it, but I do like the differential pick there. Keith saying, hi for Scotland. Keith, I need to get to Scotland, my friend. I say this all the time to different people. I need to get myself to Scotland. It's just the drive. I've got to get through the drive. It's about 10 hours from where I am to parts of Scotland. Rashford or Bowen, selling Clivert for a bench boost this week. Okay, so look, when we take a look at the fixtures in a bit of context right now. So Jarrod Bowen, long term, has, down the bottom here, Southampton at home, away against Brighton in game week 34, if you were not planning to free hit. Now, Spurs at home in game week 35 and 36. Now, this is where this is going to be very beneficial. So, I spoke about this in a previous video. If you haven't watched it, go check it out if you want a bit more detail, but hopefully I'll cover it off. Now, I spoke about previously, and this will hopefully help out a lot of people, about I'm selling Cole Palmer 100%. And while it seemed really, really obvious to go for Bukayo Saka with his double game week away against Ipswich and at home against Crystal Palace, of course, we had the midweek Real Madrid game where Saka looked like he was pretty cooked and came off the field. So I think there is a general consensus that we wouldn't be surprised at all if Saka didn't get significant game time against Ipswich, but did against Crystal Palace. So I think Saka isn't just a guaranteed move as other people are perceiving. And the reason being is because of the progression of Spurs and Man United in the Europa League. So here's a bit of context. Let's take Mbeumo firstly as an example, who I think is a great buy between now and the end of the season. He has Brighton at home, which I think he could do very well. Game week 34, not incredible, but if you're free hitting in 34, then it doesn't matter. Now, game week 35 is at home against Man United. What's really important to note is that Mbeumo plays Man United between the Europa League matches. So they've got the first leg against Athletic Club, then they've got Brentford, and then they've got the second leg against Athletic Club. So this is an amazing opportunity to play Man United, where Amorim has already come out and stated that he is going to play the kids. After that, Ipswich away, Fulham at home, and then Wolves away. I think it's a really strong end to the season. And the same is going to apply to Jarrod Bowen, but even further. So Southampton at home is one of the standout fixtures, regardless of a double game week. Game week 34 away against Brighton, but again, it's worth noting that that is a free hit week for a lot of managers. Now, this is where it's really interesting. So, game week 35, similar to Mbeumo, Bowen is going to play Spurs in between the first and second leg of the Europa League. And there is no reason for Ange to have any focus on the league. He is a very proud guy, and he has come out and stated he always wins something in his second season. You know he is going to put everything into that Europa League team in the first and second leg. So I think that's going to be a rotated Spurs team for West Ham. And then in game week 36, they're going to be playing up against Man United. It's now 3 days. They've announced the fixture's been moved to Sunday in that game. Yes, it's away against Man United, but 3 days after a Europa League second leg, where if they win, could be a bit of a hangover. If they lose, a bit demoralising and fatigue in general. I think that's a great fixture as well. Then they got Forest at home in 37. Okay. And then they finish the season away against Ipswich. So I think Bowen is an amazing option for managers out there. However, my general conclusion is regarding Saka. I'm of the opinion that game week 33 is actually okay for Saka. I think the gap rest between Real Madrid and Ipswich is perfectly fine. The gap between Ipswich and Palace is like 3 or 4 days, fine. And it's a 6-day rest between Crystal Palace and the first leg of the Champions League. So I have no concerns whatsoever regarding Saka for the game week 33 double. It's beyond that where I think is a real issue. We got the first leg, second leg wedged in between Bournemouth. That could be rotation. Then we got Liverpool away in game week 36. Compare that to Mbeumo away against Ipswich. It's a no-brainer. And then 37 and 38 aren't too bad. So I just want people to understand that Saka is a good move this week, 100%. But I think between now and the end of the season, I actually think Mbeumo and Bowen both outscore Saka. And I haven't actually locked in my team, and we'll come on to that in a second. Tor, hope you're doing well. Just transferred Murphy for Kovacic. Okay. Don't love Kovacic, we're going to be honest with you. Abel's saying I have 2 non-doubler defenders, Nico Williams and Burn, who are good long-term. Don't worry about that. Nico Williams more than Burn. Is there any other doublers around the same price point around Burn other than Konsa? Well, my answer to you is going to be, do you have triple Arsenal? If you don't, Kivior is a brilliant pick. Uppbeat saying cap Saka, Palace conceding a lot of goals. Yeah, and I agree. This is why I'm a little bit scared not to have Bukayo Saka, because if people are of the opinion that he doesn't start against Ipswich, he always comes on. So he's going to come on regardless for 40 minutes, 35 minutes, and that could be enough against this Ipswich team. And he isn't going to be benched for both games. There is absolutely no reason for Saka to be benched in both, with the first leg against PSG 6 days after the Palace game. So he's then going to play up against Crystal Palace, who have their FA Cup game a couple of days after that Arsenal game. That Palace team is going to be pretty awful. And that's quite a scary prospect not to own Bukayo Saka for that Crystal Palace game, because that game alone could be better than either Mbeumo or Bowens for 33. So my opinion right now for Saka is that he is a brilliant captaincy pick, 100%. But I do think Marmoush gets slightly more minutes than that to Saka. Okay, while people are chit-chatting, let's get into my team a minute. Let's pop up my team to show you what we're looking at. So, hopefully you can see it on your screens. And let me make that. Why am I so small in the corner? Hang on. Let me get this sorted a minute. Let me grow a bit in the corner. There we go. Okay, so let's get this a bit more suitable to whatever you are tuning into right now. Maybe you're on an iPad, or you're on an old school iPod maybe. I don't know what you're watching this on, but hopefully that is going to be a little bit better than what I had previously. Let me know if it isn't. I will try and zoom in a bit more. And let me just put a poll in. Which chip are you on this week? So let me just pop this in a minute. So we have got, which chip are you on this week? I'll just put a poll in, guys. So it's going to be free hit, It's going to be... What chip are you on? Assistant manager. We're going to put on triple captain. And of course, we're going to put on bench boost. Let me know in the chat, guys. I can't put another one, which is... I don't see many people playing triple captain, so I'm going to put no chip as an option here. And if you are using triple captain, I apologise. Just let me know in the chat if you are, and it will give a little bit of context. But let me know in the chat what you're using this week. Free hit, bench boost. If you're using triple captain, apologies. Just put it in the chat and let me know. Emma saying no chip. Emma, doesn't matter. I think that you are a decent manager from what we've heard in the chat before. I back you to do well. And again, guys, for those that aren't using a chip, it's super important to note that it's only one game week. It's only one game week, and you might benefit from future game weeks. And you always get these weeks where obviously the masses do use a chip, and it is what it is. So let's take a look at my team. So we have got a bench boost active. And no, this isn't going to be my locked in team. So Ray and Martinez between the sticks, more than happy with that. I see some people Areola at home against Southampton. I would probably prefer Areola, but a double of Martinez, I'm happy with it. If he gets a penalty save, happy days. In terms of the defenders, I don't love him. I'm going to be honest. So we got Munoz with the double. To be honest with you, I think he probably only plays one. And I just hope they beat Bournemouth. Consa with the double, not a great double at all, but let's just hope for the best in that one. Then we got Vardy with the double. Don't mind that one. And then we've got Livramento with a single, and then Gabriel injured. So one of the transfers that I'm almost certainly doing is going to be Gabriel to Kivior. I just think he is the Arsenal centre-back now alongside Saliba. And I'll be very surprised if he was to be out of that team. So I'm more than happy with that. In terms of the midfielders, Salah, perfectly fine. We got Jacob Murphy, Sarr, Savinho, and Palmer. So we got to make some transfers in this midfield. Palmer is definitely going out, and I've discussed about it. Saka, Bowen, and Buemo all up for grabs. Savinho, I'm just hoping we get a team leak that he's starting. Then he isn't a concern for me. I've accepted the minutes risk is what it is. And I can't get to Kevin De Bruyne unless I sell Savinho as part of a -4. Don't like Sarr at all, but hopefully he can do the business against Bournemouth. And then we've got Jacob Murphy, who's on a ridiculous hot streak, but I might be looking to sacrifice him. Finally, the front three, we got Isak away against Villa. No real concern to look to sell him right now. Mateta with the double, and then Marmoush with the double and captain right now. I'm pretty happy with Marmoush as captain, but I do think there has to be an argument for Saka. So when we take a look at my actual team and transfers here, and I'm using the FPL team site for this one, so make sure you guys do check it out. Let me just get it up. And again, I am tiny in the corner, so let me just enlarge myself a little bit. So this is how my team currently looks, and with the bench boost active, obviously. So what I'll be looking to do is, I think this is just an obvious move, Palmer to Saka. I just think he has to start one of them. And if he starts this Palace game, which are heavily rotated, then it is going to be a problem not owning him. I will say, though, as I've discussed, I'm not a huge fan of this here. That is, the Bournemouth game is wedged in between the PSG games. That is going to be an issue. But I just got to play the double game week and then just accept what will be in game week 35 and address it when we get there. So Saka's going to come in for Cole Palmer. That's pretty much locked in. And the other move that is all but locked in is going to be Gabriel to Kivior. I just personally think Kivior is going to be good for minutes. So then the team would look like this. Again, reminder, the bench boost is active, but let's try and pick the bench what it actually would be. And I think we can all agree the bench would be this if I was to bench boost. So we've got Martinez doubling, Consa doubling, and then Murphy and Livramento with the singles. Now, what I clearly don't have is any sort of Aston Villa investment going forward. And even though I would love to do Isak to Watkins, I just have no guarantee that he is going to start. If I did, it'll be a no-brainer. Isak out to Watkins, but we can't guarantee it. So the plan right now, and again, it's so boring, guys, is doing Murphy out for Morgan Rogers. And then the team would look like this. Do I love Morgan Rogers' double? No. Do I love his minutes? Yes. And that is why I'm mainly preferring him over Marcus Rashford. I think the quotes from Emery are quite important. He's come out and stated that he views Rashford as a number 9. Do we actually think Rashford is going to play both games in the double and get significant minutes? I don't. I think we're going to see Watkins start one and we're going to see Rashford start the other. Because we need to remind ourselves the FA Cup semi-final is only a few days after that Man City game. So it makes sense that if he deems Rashford his main guy, to play Rashford in the first game, Watkins in the second, and then play Rashford in the FA Cup semi-final. So I don't really get the Rashford hype myself. I personally am not loving it. And if Rodgers does eventually just get benched, then I clearly am a curse and I never will own Rodgers again. I'll put it out there. So that's how we're currently looking. Do I love the team? No, I'm going to be honest. I don't love it. I think the goalkeepers are good. I think Kivior's good. And I can get Saliba, by the way. No, I can't get Saliba. So Kivior by default is just the man for me. Gvardiol's good. Konsa is what it is. I don't really like the defenders in general. So I'm happy just to go for this team. The midfielders, I think Sarr's a problem for the second part. I think Savinho could be an issue if we don't get any confirmation. And of course, we've got Mateta, who has been confirmed to start against Bournemouth, is worth noting. So basically, for Palace, we're all just praying that Palace bop Bournemouth in the first game, and then we can just accept it's more of a single game week than a double game week. Sorry, I got hiccups. So that's how the team's looking, and I am pretty set on it. What that means is that in game week 34, my team is bad. So I will be looking to free hit, of course. I've just accepted that move. And then in game week 35, my team will look like this. So we'll probably play double Arsenal defence and just hope for the best, even though they, of course, are wedged in between the first and second leg of the PSG. I probably would play Munoz over Konsa and just hope for those returns. And I think the team kind of picks itself. The issue is, I think there's a real good chance that if I'm worried about Saka, actually doing Saka out for Mbeumo this week and bringing him in for that Man United game, because that is a fantastic fixture in between the Europa League games. Then they got Ipswich away, Fulham at home, Wolves away. So I think there's a really good chance I could bring in Bryan Mbeumo for that fixture. And then in game week 36, we have him for that away game against Ipswich, while Arsenal are away against Liverpool. I don't feel that inclined to need Saka then. So really my Saka move is only for this double game week, but I think it could pay off. And then the rest of the team kind of picks itself for this week. And what I'll be doing in this week, most likely, is then selling Mateta and bringing in a Sir Christopher Wood for the Leicester game at home. So that's my current long-term plans. You can see why I am not as bullish on Saka as others, because I do deem him a player that I might actually look to sell, and that is a bit of an issue. But I think this is a no-brainer. Now, it's worth noting, if we do get the news that Man City are ruled out, Savinho is ruled out, then I think there is a chance I could take a -4. And if I was to do so, the move that I would make is Savinho out, and I would buy Jarrod Bowen. Now, I know it's a single game week and it's for a -4, but I would look at Jarrod Bowen as a pick between now and the end of the season. So when I do moves like this, of course injuries can happen, but I think certain -4s are different to others. This would be a -4 that might not necessarily pay off now, but I think it will do in the future. So then what that would mean is a -4 this week, and the team would look like this, and I would just accept no Savinho. Then in game week 35, we would have Bowen for that Spurs game in between the Europa League fixtures, and we would have Bryan Mbeumo for that game as well. I would be looking to sell Saka, as I discussed. And then the team would look like this, which I think is really strong. Then following up into game week 36, again, I think the team looks strong with Bowen away against Man United. And I know there is a prediction that Man City might double in this week, but do I really want Savinho? Probably not. And what it allows me to do is be flexible going into game week 36. So if we were to arrive here with a double game week and I said to myself, you know what, I really do need a third Man City pick, I have the opportunity available to me if I want to go there. So that's the current thought process right now. Going on something like this if Savinho is ruled out, if we get the news. Right, let's take a look at some more chat right now, guys. And I'll just put my general team up for everybody to view. So would I do De Bruyne plus Raya or Saka plus Ortega? I would go for De Bruyne plus Raya because I think Ortega will be a risk later down the line with Ederson being back. Jack made the transfers of Bruno Milenkovic and Livramento to Saka, Kanata and Konsa. Thoughts? Yeah, I don't mind it. I think Bruno can always deliver, but the fixtures aren't necessarily there. I think Milenkovic actually isn't too bad. I don't think Milenkovic is bad, and I don't mind, obviously, Saka coming in and Konsa with a double. I have KDB. Will he be okay to pick? Yes, I think KDB is a brilliant option this game week. Personally, I can't get that unless I was to sell Savinho. And I would only do that if he was ruled out with some sort of rotation. Hey mate, if I have a TC, triple captain, and bench boost left, when do I use them? And Saka or Marmoush for captaincy. Okay, so it's all team dependent really. Again, if your team looks fantastic this week, then I would argue the bench boost looks good if your bench is good, obviously. If not, then I think the triple captain this week is definitely a viable pick. And I think I probably would be leaning more towards Marmoush myself than Bukayo Saka. But of course, it comes down to your squad. If you don't think your bench boost looks good this week, then I would hold off for maybe game week 36 and hope that your team lands really good that week. Cameron saying, hey Nacho, great content as always. Thank you, Cameron. Is it worth getting rid of Savinho from -4? Cameron, my opinion, being an owner of Savinho, is I'm just going to keep him unless I get concrete news from a proven person that that he's benched. Because then when he's benched, if we assume that he might get a few minutes, let's say he gets 20 off the bench, and sometimes Pep just doesn't bring people on, does he? Then what I would say is Bowen then becomes a bit of a better pick. So I'm just seeing what's going on right now here. So no, I can't see anything right now online in terms of any sort of Man City news. So again, yeah. Sorry, I was just seeing if there was any news regarding Man City team leaks, which again, I just can't see it happening anytime soon. Trossard or Mourinho, who do you fancy more? Ryan, I think Trossard is the ultimate differential, because if we're of the opinion that Arsenal are going to prioritise the Champions League, I think Trossard then minutes elevate. I'd be more inclined to go Trossard than Mourinho myself. Kivior or Saliba, I think it's quite clear. If you can buy Saliba and his more expensive price doesn't hinder future transfers, then the answer is Saliba. But in my case, when I can't afford Saliba, I think Kivior is perfectly fine. I'm just going to get rid of the poll in a minute because I've had it up for about 12 minutes. Thanks to everybody that voted. Which chip are you on this week? 63% are on bench boost, 16% are on no chip, 12 are on assistant manager, and 9% are on a free hit. So I'm going to end that poll right now. Thanks to everybody that voted. And I'm just going to put another poll in asking, who is your Game Week 33 captain? And I think there are probably only 3 real viable picks. That's going to be Marmoush. That's going to be Mo Salah. Of course, that's going to be Bukayo Saka. And I think the other pick, realistically, this week, if somebody was going to go there, is going to be Kevin De Bruyne. I really think that probably is the other one, but I may miss it. And let me know if you've got an alternative captain. Let me know. So I've put the poll in there. Let me know your thoughts, guys. Thoughts on Salah captaincy as a differential? Look, Salah's fixture is incredible. Liverpool still need to wrap up the league. They've got absolutely nothing else to play for. Mo Salah signed a new deal. All the stars are aligning. I would not be surprised at all if Mo Salah outscores Marmoush and Bukayo Saka. I wouldn't at all. But one single game week up against 2, where I think we can confidently say Marmoush starts both, it's difficult to lean towards him, but he is a brilliant differential captain if you're looking to chase upside. And what I would say is it's going to be one of those painful weeks this week where if you go for a Marmoush captaincy, you're then hoping Mo Salah blanks because his ownership is probably going to be over 100% effective when we take into account captaincy. So if you don't captain Salah, you kind of then hoping for him to blank. And personally, I can't see it. Emerson bench boost last week 102, but bench only got me 11. Still, Emma, that is fantastic for that week. That is fantastic. AB saying, mate, love the content. Thank you, mate. Savino, Isak, Murphy out. Okay, KDB, Evan Nielsen, and Bowen in for a -8. I don't know if I love Evan Nielsen coming in. The fixtures don't really scream value to me. So because of that move, I'm not for it. Personally. Software, I use OBS to stream. Which single Gameweek defender would you suggest? I already have double Liverpool defence and I'm looking for a defender that plays in Gameweek 34. Okay, so if we're looking at this week and next, I think Nottingham Forest are not a bad investment at all. I think Forest have proven their worth defensively. Spurs are going to be quite fatigued off the back of that Europa League game. So I think Nico Williams or a Milenkovic are perfectly fine. Brentford at home in 34. Otherwise, I think a consideration would have to be someone like a Wan-Bissaka, or another one is going to be Aït-Nouri of Wolves. I think he is brilliant. I think Man United are going to be fatigued. I can't see them putting in a great performance against Wolves with that drama at Old Trafford. So I think Aït-Nouri is also a brilliant pick, and then it has Leicester at home in Game Week 34. I see we've got a super chat here from Boy in the Autumn. I hope you are doing well. I haven't seen you in the chat for a couple of weeks. Hope you are doing well, mate. And as always, super generous with the super chats. You don't have to do it. But of course, I am very, very thankful, mate. So let me know where you're ranked as well. You were doing amazing last time we spoke. So, hi, mate. Who should I bring in for Palmer, if anyone? I'm going to have to wildcard in 34. Okay, so you're wildcard in 34. So we're just looking at Game Week 33 in isolation. My midfield is Sarr, Salah, Cole, which I assume is Cole Palmer, Rodgers and Kluivert. And I already have 3 Palace players. Cheers, mate. Okay, so you're just looking at Game Week 33 in isolation right now, of course. So if we're looking at Game Week 33 in isolation, I think you've got to chase the upside. And it is then going to be De Bruyne versus Saka. That is a very simple, straight shootout between the two. Now, because we're not looking at Game Week 34 and beyond, we're just looking at this game week in isolation. I think De Bruyne and Saka probably get quite similar minutes. But I think a big factor that we need to take in is that Saka, of course, is on penalties. I don't think De Bruyne is going to be. So that's also something that we need to consider. If I was picking one right now, and I was chasing rank, and it's boring, it would be De Bruyne. And if I was just looking to consolidate rank, and that's kind of why I'm asking what your rank is right now. Because if you're in a position where you are like top 50k, and you're like, I don't want to take huge risks, you need to note that Saka is going to be monstrous owned. Like if we come up to the fixtures, right, to the week, and we have a look at Saka, he's been bought by 700,000 FPL managers. Now, the classic FPL curse is that the most bought player will end up not doing well. But what you need to remember is that this is painful if you don't own him and he delivers. De Bruyne, of course, ownership will hurt, but at 9%, I can't see it being as painful as that of Bukayo Saka. So it's super close. I personally would go for Saka because I still am not fully on board with the De Bruyne pick yet. I still don't think he is, even if they are coming out and saying he's fully fit, I still don't think he is the man who is guaranteed minutes with his history of injuries. So I personally would still lean towards Bukayo Saka. But as I stated, those that are looking to bring him in long term, I think there are problems with that PSG first and second leg. Start Munoz or Konate on free hit. Well, I think Munoz is basically a single game week because away against Arsenal a few days before an FA Cup semi-final, basically means that I can't see him starting or getting anything from that game. So I think if I own Konate, I would just start him against Leicester, to be honest with you. But I get it. Munoz could score, and Konate doesn't necessarily have that appeal. Would you go for a West Ham defender if you were on free hit? Okay, so I did create a free hit team. But look, if we were just looking at fixtures right now for a free hit, then I think it's quite important that you only have 3 defenders. Do not be playing 4. You don't need it. There are too many good doublers in attacking positions to go there. So if I was on a free hit right now, players that I would have Vardiel because he's got a double game week. You just have to have him. I don't think an Aston Villa defender is essential, and I don't think a Palace defender is essential at all. I do like Connor Bradley as a bit of an upside chasing pick in your free hit. And of course, if you were going West Ham, I think a Wan-Bissaka is great. So really, of the doublers, and I think you need Arsenal defensive coverage, like a Saliba, if you are going. So I think on a free hit, I probably would go for something like Saliba, Vardiel, and then probably Connor Bradley myself, just because of that attacking potential that he possesses that maybe not Wan-Bissaka has. Would you start Murphy or Minter? Danny, I don't really know if Minter would start. So because of minutes, I would play Murphy. Given the news that KDB might not start versus Everton, no idea where that's come from. So I probably wouldn't lean on that. I mean, who's heard that? I don't think that is common knowledge at all. So I'm kind of going to ignore that question because I don't think that is actually a valid question because I haven't seen anything regarding De Bruyne on that one. Hey man, Murphy, Isak and Livramento bench, 11 or double game week, but Salah bench boost. So then you're asking yourself, do I like a bench boost of all Newcastle? I don't love it, but they are the form team right now. We have to remember that. And the minutes for Murphy, Isak and Livramento will be good. And I think there are going to be goals in this game, Villa versus Newcastle. So with that opinion, yes, I think a bench boost is perfectly fine. I've got 3 free transfers for those that are asking. No, you do not lose transfers if you use your free hit. You just don't roll a transfer. So if I have 1 free transfer available, then I free hit, I will come back to 1 free transfer the following week. You don't roll a transfer. Ashley saying, why is Marmoush being captained by so many? So the reason why Marmoush is currently my number 1 pick is just because I think his minutes are going to be better than that of Bukayo Saka, and I want to chase the upside with the minutes. It's worth noting, would we be surprised if Man City went to Everton and stunk up the place? No, because Everton have been really good defensively. But I do think there will be goals in this game. And then, of course, when we look at Saka, who I don't own right now, I think there definitely is an argument that Saka has the better fixtures. I think Palace are on the ropes a little bit right now, and they're going to be heavily rotated in that game. And then Ipswich away, if he gets 30 minutes in that game, that's fantastic. So I do think there is an argument to say that Saka is actually the better pick and has the better fixtures. And it's worth noting, while my captaincy is currently on Marmoush, I haven't locked in that yet because I haven't actually bought Saka myself, so I can't actually put the captaincy on Marmoush. Sam Parker is saying, Raul's saying firstly, is bench boost Areola, Murphy, Burn and Kirkes worth it? So I think that isn't too bad. Remind ourselves, Bournemouth are away against Crystal Palace, so it's not fantastic. I would back Palace to score in that fixture. So, no, it's not incredible. I'm going to be honest with you. But they all play. They've all got guaranteed game time. And could I see each player getting a minimum 3 points and maybe 1 picking up a clean sheet? Yes, I could. So, it's all about the rest of your season. And when you look at the fixture landscape here, if you don't play in double 33, you ain't playing it in 34. I doubt your team looks good enough in 35 to play it. So it's either 36 And then, is your team going to look better in 36 than that of 33? And I'll answer that for you. You have no idea, because we don't know what 36 is going to look like until after the FA Cup results. So for that reason, I think getting the bench boost out of the way if you have 15 players at play is the way to go. I think the bench boost is quite overhyped. It's very rare you get monstrous returns on your bench and all 15 deliver. So yeah, I think by that, it's quite simple. Get it done this week if you have 15 players that play. Yes, Wan-Bissaka has got a flag, but it sounds like all he needs is an injection, and he probably will be okay. It's worth noting. I'm going KDB, Trouble saying, because of sentiment, and I love the man. Yes, don't mind that at all. At the end of the day, FPL is all about playing it your way. If you just love a certain player and putting the captaincy on him, then you've got to get it done. You've got to get it done. Now, apologies, guys, if I keep looking at my phone, it's just because of the chance of us getting any sort of Man City news. So that's just kind of like what I am looking at right now. I'm not trying to ignore you guys. I am just looking at yeah, I can't see anything right now. And again, guys, would I be holding out for guaranteed news? No. Like, I really do think you guys should have plans in place for that. If we don't get the news regarding Man City, then you just have a plan. So for me, just to give you guys again an example for those that are wondering, is we reset everything here. This is FPL.team for those that are wondering. So this is how my team currently looks. One transfer absolutely locked in is going to be Gabriel de Kivior. That's just I can't afford Saliba for those that are asking. Next transfer for me is going to be Palmer to Saka. Super boring, but I just think the more I talk about it, the more I think that he is going to get the Palace game and 30 against Ipswich. And I mean, 80 minutes against a Palace team rotated and Ipswich. Yeah, I'll take that. I'll take that all day. So Saka in. And then it's going to be a case of Murphy, Livramento, Isak. Don't love the Livramento picks. Alternatives out there, so I'm going to ignore that. I think Jacob Murphy could deliver. And I think Isak still has things to offer in this team. I think 36 is fantastic, by the way, at home against Chelsea. Like, do not be selling Isak if you get to 36 with Chelsea at home. Like, if you take anything away from this live stream, if you look at these fixtures and say to yourself, oof, Isak might be a sell. He ain't. He ain't. Because Chelsea at home in 36 is going to be a battering. Just keep that in mind when you are looking long term. So the final move, and again, it's so boring, but I think I just got to get Rodgers in. I don't love it. And it's worth noting that that move, I can't get someone like a Jarrod Bowen. So like the sideways move to a Bowen just doesn't exist for my team. So Rodgers by default probably does come in. And then the team will look like this. 1.5 million in the bank, bench boost active, and the only thing that I would do left is sell Savio if we got news that he was benched, and I would be bringing in Jarrod Bowen, and I would just do that. And a reminder, I would then free hit in game week 34, and then in game week 35, I basically would just make a decision whether I want to pull the trigger and bring in somebody else. Because when you look at this here for game week 35 and beyond, I've spoken about it. I think Brentford need to be on our radars, and I do think West Ham can be on our radars as well. So I think 35, while I don't necessarily want to make a transfer, I definitely have it in the back of my mind that there's a chance I might make a transfer. And we might get to that week and we'll know the information whether Man City, for example, double. And if they do, but I still think Savinho isn't part of that, then a really easy move for my team would be something like, for example, Savinho out. And like, let's say I'm getting in Mbeumo. And it'll be a super easy move there. And I'll just, in my head, remind myself that Savinho isn't part of Man City's plans, if that's not the case. And then the team would probably look something like, probably like that for 35. I can't get Bowen with -2. We'll sort it out. But you can see where I'm coming from. You can see where I'm coming from, guys. Right, let's get back to the chat a minute. Let's get back to the chat. Sell Munoz or Mateta. The reason why I don't mind Mateta is because he's a really good placeholder for possibly Chris Wood later down the line. And who are you bringing in for Mateta? That's the question. Who are you bringing in for Mateta? When am I going to make my transfers? For those that may be holding off, there's a solid chance I won't be making my transfers on here. The reason being is I've got to wrap up at 1 o'clock. And because I own Savinho, I'm probably just going to hold off. Now, I could just now make my Palmer to Saka move and Kivior move, absolutely. And one thing that's worth noting is I think a lot of people are like asking about De Bruyne, and are maybe in a similar boat to myself where you're already maxed out on Man City. So what I'll do here is quickly show you how we could get to Kevin De Bruyne. So Savinho would have to pivot, obviously, to De Bruyne. And you guys might have way more funds than me, so you could find an easier way to do this. But Savinho to De Bruyne would have to happen. And of course, for me, De Bruyne would have to kind of be the alternative to Bukayo Saka. So then we would do Cole Palmer down to probably a Jared Bowen, capitalise on that Southampton game. And it would look like this. And then the third and final move for my team would be then Gabriel out to Kivior. And then the team looks pretty strong again. The only thing I would argue then is I could take a -4 and I could do Jacob Murphy out and bring in Rodgers for the double. And this would be part of a -4. And that doesn't look too bad at all. Something I haven't considered, avoiding Bukayo Saka altogether and going for that. The other option that we could do is reinstate Murphy, sell Livramento, and go for a triple up. Okay, I can't afford Saliba because he went up last night, so that can't happen. That's quite nice. That's quite nice. It means that I'm not tempted by this move. But you could do something along those lines. So basically, I would do Murphy to Rodgers then, and go for something like this. And that doesn't look too bad either. That really doesn't look bad. Chris is saying he can't afford Gabriel, Saliba, Palmer, Saka, then do Gabriel to Kivior, and then you will be able to afford Saka. Foden to Bowen, Mbeumo, or KDB. This is the big one right now. So look, with Kevin De Bruyne right now, I think he plays that. I think he probably plays decent that. But they have the FA Cup semi-final 3 or 4 days after the Aston Villa game. So are we certain that he's going to play all of those minutes against Aston Villa? I don't know if he is. I really don't know. So I love him. One of the best midfielders around. One of the best midfielders ever. But do I feel inclined to get him in? I don't personally. I just don't have it in me to go there myself. If it was a choice of Bowen, Mbeumo and KDB, then look, I would... It depends on your strategy. If you're free hitting in 34, then I would be tempted to bring in De Bruyne. Of course, you then get the Wolves game at home in 35, which I think is great, and you get Southampton away in 36. Does he play all those? I have no idea. But if he does, it could be fantastic. And then Bournemouth at home in 37. So definitely something to consider. I think I probably would go KDB if I had an easy way to get there. Do we know if Saka will play? No idea on that one. No idea. And the one thing I will say is, if I put the fixture landscape up, is for those that are debating between Saka and De Bruyne, I mean, Man City's fixtures are just better. They just are. Because the double is not as good, but it's fine. Blanks in 34, similar to that of Saka. 35, the fixture they have at home against Wolves is on par with the Bournemouth one, but what you need to remember is that Arsenal are going to be wedged in between Champions League games, so De Bruyne is by default better. Then, while Arsenal go away against Liverpool, there's a chance Man City will have a double game week, so that's fantastic as well. Then they both, De Bruyne might then blank in 37. Saka will then help you out with the home game against Newcastle, final game of the season away against Fulham. So you could pivot and you could do De Bruyne up until 36 and then jump to Saka in 37. Something to consider. Something to consider, definitely. And it's just getting through this game week. So, again, as a bit of an example, using my team, because it's the only team I can use as an example. If I wanted to go to Kevin De Bruyne, and it's tricky because I don't have the players like others. I've got too much City. So I would sell De Bruyne. Sorry, I'd bring in De Bruyne for Palmer, and I would sell Savinho, as we discussed. And I would look to bring in Morgan Rogers to free up the funds. So the team would look like this. I have to do the Gabriel to Kivior move to get myself some Arsenal exposure. And then the team would look like this with 3.8 million in the bank. And do I think it looks any better? Possibly. And I think really then, the only other move that I need to consider is getting rid of one of my Newcastle players. So we could really easily do Livramento out to Saliba. That's a consideration. We could do Jacob Murphy up to Mbeumo or Bowen. That would be the sort of direction we'd be looking to take this team. I personally think I would go for Murphy out and bring in Jared Bowen. And that would be part of a -4 here. So double goalkeepers. Munoz, Livramento, Vardiel, Kivior and Konsa. Midfield 5 of Bowen, De Bruyne, Sarr, Salah and Rogers. And a front 3 of Mateta, Isak and Marmoush. We'd free hit in game week 34. And then in game week 35, the team would look like this. Raya at home against Bournemouth. I don't feel like I would need triple Arsenal defence for this game at all. And the team would look pretty strong. I'll be more than happy with this team. Rogers possibly would come in for Sarr. So that looks great. And Sarr could even come out if we wanted to for someone a bit cheaper. And then coming into game week 36, if we were to get that double game week that some are projecting, then it would look fantastic. With De Bruyne with a double, Vardiel with the double, Livramento could come in for Kivior, Martinez comes in for the double, Konsa comes in for Munoz, and the team looks really strong once again. And then I'd be asking myself, where can I pivot my team? It would probably be Mateta out to Chris Wood or something. So De Bruyne can get in this team as part of a -4. And I haven't ruled it out. Thoughts on Mourinho? I think he's fine. I just don't really love it because I think he's an important part of that team for the Champions League in the way that they are able to use him as a hold-up man, use him as a link-up player. So I think he's become as important at times as Saka because they don't have anybody that can do the similar bits. So I would be concerned of Mourinho's minutes in the Premier League at times. Best Arsenal midfielder that isn't Saka, then I think I'll be chasing some sort of differential in Trossard, personally. Are you convinced Bowen will not outscore Saka? Bowen at home against Southampton could absolutely outscore Saka. 100%. 100%. Hi, would you choose Mbeumo or Diaz? I would go Mbeumo. Long term, I think he is much better. Best Asensio replacement, not Rogers though. And should I sell Nico Williams for a -4 to Kivior? Nico Williams as a -4 to Kivior. I'm not hugely in love with that. Especially what your chip strategy is. If you're not free hitting in 34, then definitely not. Best replacement, Asensio, that's not Rogers though. Well, Rashford definitely has to be a consideration for you, for sure. What are your thoughts on Murphy to Asensio on a free transfer? No, I think Asensio could do well, but I would have no guarantees of those minutes. KB is saying, hi, do I sell Sarr or Eze for Bowen? I personally would be looking to sell Sarr for Bowen if I had to. Savinho to Bowen? Ben, I like it if we get confirmation that Savinho is benched. My current thought process as a Savinho owner is if we get no news, we keep Savinho and we just hope for the best. Again, I'm just looking right now to see if we've got any sort of news. And I can't see anything. I still can't see anything. Thoughts on Savinho, covered that one off. I don't see the 36 doublers on FPL team. Also, you have to click the kind of like projected tab above the fixtures and it will sync them for you. Sydney, would I remove Foden for a -4? If so, which replacement do you prefer between De Bruyne and Bowen? I'm playing bench boost 33 and free hit 34. Look, it would have to be De Bruyne just to chase that upside of the double game week. Simple for me. Best defenders under 4.6 million. It depends what you want. If you're obviously looking at somebody that also plays in 34, then I'll be saying to you, 8 Nori if he's around that. I think he's more expensive. Wan-Bissaka, perfectly fine. Or you go Nottingham Forest and you get yourself a Nico Williams. That would be the route I would be going for. Best long-term defender, that would be in my bench boost this week as well. Again, I think if you're using your bench boost, are you free hitting in 34? That's the context we need on that one. Triple captain De Bruyne, I need a differential. Everyone has to move. No arguments for me whatsoever. I think De Bruyne's going to be good for minutes, and he's a fantastic differential. So yes, I don't mind that at all. Livramento to Bradley or Kanate. Look, I think Bradley is fantastic for this week. Afterwards is anyone's guess with Trent. So I think by default I would have to go Kanate, but except Bradley probably outscores Kanate this week. Would I take a -4 for Arteta? Would need to sell Gabriel or just go with Pep, effectively giving Pep a 4-point head start? Yes, I would go for Pep over Arteta. If it's a -4 for Arteta or Pep, I would take Pep, definitely. Do I think Everton away, though, is a guaranteed win? Absolutely not. That is one thing that I will say. I think Arsenal definitely win both. Would you sell Burn to Collins or Nico Williams on a bench boost or keep him? So, look, for this week in isolation, could Burn keep a clean sheet? Yes, but I think it's probably unlikely against an Aston Villa team who do score goals. So if it's a straight shootout between Brentford at home against Brighton or Nico Williams away against Spurs, who have been in the Europa League, it's incredibly close. But I probably would back Nico Williams myself. Controversially, I just think that Spurs team used so much in that Europa League game. And I do think as well, long term, Nico Williams is better than that of Collins. Hi mate, is it worth using the transfers to move from Timber to Kivior? I would probably just keep Timber and hope for the best, unless I have missed something regarding Timber. Then I apologise if there was any rumours of him possibly not starting. But what I know is that he finished the game okay, I think. So I think if you have Timber, you just hope for the best, and I see no reason why he wouldn't play. Just seeing if there's any sort of news, guys. And again, can't see anything, but we still have an hour until the deadline. And importantly, it's 2.5 hours until the Man City kickoff. So I don't think anybody really was expecting any news as of right now. I think if I was a man who had a little flutter with gambling, I would say, and I'm not, by the way, I would say probably De Bruyne starts, Foden benched, Savio starts. That's the way I would think about it right now, and that is where my head is at. So I think I might get a transfer done or two, because I don't know what I'm waiting for, to be honest with you. Just a reminder of the fixtures. We're going to get nothing on Arsenal. We're not going to get anything on Liverpool. We're not getting anything on Sunday, obviously. So, there's no reason for me to wait on the Kivior move. I might as well just get that done. I don't see anybody better. And I think double Arsenal defence is quite important, really. I don't see anyone outscoring the Arsenal defence. I do think there are teams that I could bring in that help me. 36, for example. Who would I rather have? A Forest defender or an Arsenal defender? I'd rather have, as I've stated, a Forest defender. But in that week, if it does come to fruition, I would have Konsa doubling, who would start. I would have, I would have Vardiel starting with a double, and I would happily play Livramento at home against Chelsea. Happily. So I don't feel like I need the Forest defence, even though it would be nice to have them. So yeah, I think I've got to get Kivior in, cover up that Arsenal double defence where I easily think it could come in. So let's get one move done. Let's bring some excitement to this. Do we think Kivior is a doubt? Let me just quickly check. Because I don't need him in 35 desperately if I don't want him. Anybody that wonders where I check team news, Emma Jump the Wave, at Jump the Wave on Twitter, basically works alongside loads of team predictors. And they have currently got, if I just get it up, the Arsenal predicted team. The Arsenal predicted team is as I'm about to read out. So, Raya 100% start, White 92% start, Saliba 100% start, Timber only an 8% start, so be cautious of that. Kivior 100% start. Whenever I read things like this, I'm more than happy to accept that what will be. And if Kivior doesn't start, then 100% of predictors have got it wrong. And then it's just a situation where it's like, oh, okay. For those that are wondering, 46% of them think Saka will start against Ipswich, which is not ideal reading. But they've also got Odegaard at 46% and Martinelli at 23%, Trossard at 92%. So reading that, I'm more than happy to bring in Kivior. So I'm going to put Kivior into the team. Guys, if you've withheld any information about Kivior and you want to reveal it now, I'll be greatly appreciated. Otherwise, we're going to get that done. So let me put this up on the screen. So the plan right now is to do Gabriel out to Kivior and have that done. I see no reason why that is going to be an issue, personally. So I think I might get that move locked in. What percentage is Merino? Merino to start, according to these predictors. Let me try and get up on Twitter for you guys. This will be way better content than me just reading off my phone. Give me 2 seconds. And I can show you exactly who I'm using as a reference, because they are one of the essentials to follow when it comes to... Sometimes I think in fantasy, it's very much a case of use your own intuition, but also use the content available to you. And when it comes to team predictions, we can't follow every team. And we also got to accept that people who predict lineups are predicting end of the day. So they do a fantastic job because they get loads of predictors together. You get a percentage of what they believe. And then you can kind of just then be like, what will be once that happens. So if I bring this up right now for you guys, and let's see if you can actually see this on your screens. Terrible. Let me try and sort this out of the net so it's a bit more readable. So that there, this is going to be quite narrow, but you know, hopefully you guys can see this. Let me know if you can't see this. So let's take a look at this a minute. So for those that are wondering about a predicted Newcastle lineup, this is it here. Trippier, Schär, Burn, Livramento, Tonali, Bruno Guimaraes, Joelinton, Murphy, Isak and Barnes. When we come down to the Arsenal team, Aston Villa team, they've got it as this. Very difficult. They've already stated that they think this is a very difficult one to predict. But the one that we're obviously interested in is the... Here we go. The Arsenal predictions. And this is where they compile all the information, okay? So, Arsenal predicted lineup. Thanks to all those predicting team for great work on the data preparation. So, this is it here. Wow, wow, wow. You cannot read that. So, here we go. So, this is their predictions. And the way they do it is that the blue squares and all, so these are all people predicting. So The first blue square is the most accurate predictor over the course of the season. The furthest right is the lowest predictor score. So throughout the season, they give each other scores based on how accurate they are. So, for example, let's use an example here. Let's use Mourinho. The first 5 have predicted Mourinho to start, and those over the course of the season have been the most accurate predictors. Then after that, it's a little bit hit and miss. They got blank, yes, they think they'll start, no, yes, yes, no, yes, no. So if all of the first few think they are, and they are the most accurate over the course of the season, then you could maybe say to yourself, it's 69% of him starting, but the first 5 who are the most accurate over the course of the season think he will. So based on this, Kivior being 100% picked just brings that clarity where it's like, if he doesn't play, 100% of people have got this wrong. And I'm happy to just accept that. So I really do recommend checking this out. For those that are curious about other ones, just drop some teams in the chat and I'll scroll down to them. So we got, what we got here? We got Aston Villa, the predictions here. So we have got basically Morgan Rogers at 100%. Bloke's just indestructible according to them. Asensio only 9%. Rashford at 45%. Watkins at 64%. So very interesting there for those that are going for Rashford. And another reason why I'm not very, very locked in on that. Someone said about Mourinho, that there is at 60. Where's Mourinho on here? Mourinho is at 69% for those that are wondering. Other ones include that are interesting. Chelsea kind of picks itself, to be honest with you. Liverpool, I think, picks itself. So let me know if you want any other teams. I'll get them up. Otherwise, I think we're all good. So that is why I'm pretty happy with the Gabriel to Kivior move. And I see we've got a super chat here from Feifei. That is very generous, Feifei. Thank you so much for that. You didn't have to do that. Very generous. Let me cover this off for you. So, De Bruyne and João Pedro, or Rodgers and Watkins, or Isak and Rodgers. I'm set 1 in my league, but my ranking is 1 million, and I am bench boosting. Okay, so De Bruyne and João Pedro, or Rodgers and Watkins is very difficult because I think Watkins starts one and is benched in the other. Isak and Rodgers, long term, I prefer over that of Rodgers and Watkins. So I'm going to say to you right now, I prefer longer term the combination of Isak and Rodgers as opposed to Rodgers and Watkins. So then it comes down to a straight shootout between De Bruyne and João Pedro or Isak and Rodgers. And personally, it's quite hard to compare those two. But for this game week in isolation, I think I would prefer to have De Bruyne and João Pedro than that of Isak and Rodgers, because I do think De Bruyne is a fantastic option. So Feifei, let me know if there's any more that I need to expand on that one. Don't drop another super chat. That's generous enough as it is, but I will try and answer that if there are any counter stuff on it. People asking about City. City is here. So this is for Gameweek 33. It's the predicted lineups. I'm assuming this is just for the first game, I'm going to say. So we have got Ortega 100%. We got Vardiel 100%. Ruben Diaz 100%. De Bruyne at 71%. But I personally think he starts. And then we have got Savio at 100% likely start. McAtee at 0. That is very interesting. And another reason why I'm very tempted just to keep Savio and hope for the best. So yeah, that is... Diaz looks like he's a lock based on this at 100%. It's Ruben as opposed to Diaz on there, guys, for those that are wondering. Is Diaz a lock for the double? Yeah, I think so, personally. I think he will be good. I'm just seeing, guys, if there's any news on Man City here, which I cannot see as we are speaking. No, I can't see anything as of right now. Okay. Let's crack on with some more stuff, I think. Just seeing right now what is popping off here. Okay, sorry guys. Let's get back to my team minute. Because I think I might as well get this Kivior move done. I don't see any reason not to get it done. Just for fun. Let's have a little poll, see who agree or doesn't agree with me. Gabriel to Kivior. I mean, let's have a bit of fun. What do you guys think? Gabriel to Kivior, yay or nay? And if you put no, let me know why. Because I'm bench boosting. So I got to have somebody in that spot. So if anybody says no, I need to know why. So already I've got people voting no. If it's no, tell me why. I'll be very interested. I'm going to give it 30 seconds. I'm going to give it 30 seconds. And by the way, for those that are like saying no and I should buy Saliba, I should have probably put some context. I can't afford Saliba. So let me know, guys, why you wouldn't go Kivior. I'm going to do it in the next 30 seconds, unless it's almost like in a courtroom. Somebody can put up a phenomenal argument on why not to. I'd be very interested. If someone says Saliba, as I said, I can't afford Saliba. I can right now, but not with the other transfers that are planned. So, because for context, this to Saka, then Murphy to Rogers. By the way, I can get Saliba, but no, I can't get Saliba. Sorry, so just ignore that. Okay, so let's have a bit of fun. Let's get the first transfer done. Gabriel out, Kivior in. Done. How exciting. The first crazy transfer is Gabriel out, Kivior in. Confirm. Right, that's exciting, isn't it? One transfer done. And let's be real, you would start Kivior over Concert. So let's make it as accurate as possible. Done. Yeah, guys, no worries at all for me sharing that, but I obviously can't take any credit whatsoever. So please do go follow at Jump the Wave, and the actual name's called Emma, but the username tag is at Jump the Wave. It's just one of those pieces that takes 5 minutes to read, and as I stated, nobody actually knows the lineups, but these people are actually, you know, going out their way to make predictions. And when you just get a group of people predicting, sometimes they have up to 10 predictors, and you see 90%. I think just sometimes in the game, people overthink it, and I get it. People take it serious. I do myself. But if people who go out their way to make predictions, and 90% of them think they're going to start, and then they don't, sometimes you just got to say to yourself, is what it is. Like, I'm not a mind reader, and we don't have a crystal ball to predict who is going to start for certain teams. Now, of course, if you were to buy somebody like a Savinho, like myself, you know what you're getting yourself into. But for example, someone like a Kivior started the first leg against Real Madrid, played the second leg against Real Madrid. Is there any reason to assume that he isn't the starting centre-back for the rest of the season? The answer is no. So if all of a sudden, if Arteta were to take Kivior out of the team, I can live with that. I can absolutely live with that. So Kivior's in. How exciting. Probably the most boring transfer I've ever done, but a necessary one, because I do think the Arsenal defensive coverage is going to be pretty big going into this week. So that one is sorted. Now it's the rest of them. Because I still don't know exactly what we're going for. Mateus is saying, what is the predicting starting percentages for Spurs? I can't lie. I may have exited exited the thing. No, I haven't. I've still got it. This is Spurs. And it states Spurs predicted lineup for this game week. Of course, it's a single game week. So they've got the ones that are 100% starting: Vicario, Spence, and Sarr. Outside of that, obviously, it depends on who you own. But, you know, Pedro Porro 50%, Romero 50%. What I'm looking at this personally is if I had players playing up against Spurs, I'd be liking this. You know, some of the defenders who they have available to them, some of them are bad. So yeah, I think this could be a good game for anybody playing up against a Spurs team. And keep this in mind when we get to later on in the season. You know, I think there's a really good chance Mbeumo, Bowen all become fantastic picks. Fantastic picks. So let's go back to my team minute. Just a reminder of how we're looking right now. And yeah, kind of the plans, as I stated. Palmer has to go. And as of right now, the front runner, as I discussed, is Bukayo Saka. And then the other move, like I stated, is getting rid of Jacob Murphy. Now look, if Jacob Murphy could go to Jared Bowen, I'd get it done. But it can't, unfortunately. The only way it can be done is if I was to sell a certain Savinho to get there. And the only reason I would do that is if Savinho was ruled out. So, like I said, it's very boring, but this is currently my thought process. Palmer to Saka, Murphy to Rodgers. And just know that it's the safe route from an ownership perspective. And then it just comes down to, do I want to take a -4 and chase some upside? That's all. So yeah, lots to think about. I will end the chat the poll right now, because that was a little bit selfish, that one. Some people are scared to sell Jacob Murphy's form. I get that, but I just don't think the fixtures are there if you are free hitting in game week 34 myself. And as I said, guys, for me, I think I don't have a huge temptation by De Bruyne, but I would 100% if I didn't have Savinho, is basically the way I look at it. That's currently what I'm thinking. If I didn't have Savinho, this would be a lot harder. But who's to say if Savinho starts, he can't outscore De Bruyne? He absolutely could. So I don't really see the point of me taking a -4 to do Savinho to De Bruyne. So I'm just happy to die on the sword as Savinho and just is what it is. So hopefully we get new Savinho starting. Then I'm pretty content with the team. And then it's just a case of, can I really justify going Bowen over Saka? I think the answer is no. So I think Palmer to Saka is just locked in. And then it's just a case of Murphy out or Livramento, and I can't justify a defensive transfer. We've got to chase the upside. So 7.2 million to spend on a midfielder. Let's have a look at some options. Obviously, I can expand that if we were to sell somebody else for a -4. And if we would do it by price right now, I mean, it's not exciting, really, is it? It's not exciting at all. Hence why Rodgers by default is just going to come into this team. Marino can't get there because I'll have triple Arsenal. It's just all pretty rubbish, really. And it's why I think Morgan Rodgers is the guy. The problem is, I'm not enamoured by the underlying numbers. I don't love the underlying numbers for Rodgers. And it is part of the reason why I do like the idea of being a bit different. And maybe what can I do with all of the funds available to me? I mean, like I can get a Bowen, but I still got to get a Rodgers. So I think it is just Rodgers, isn't it? I think you just got to get Rodgers to be a bit safe. The only way that I can be different with my team, just for context, with me already bringing in Kivior for Gabriel, which is just needed, is doing, as we discussed, going something like this. Doing something like that, which will be Palmer to Mbeumo, and who was the guy I sold here? Savinho out to De Bruyne. But what I could do is Murphy out to Bowen. And I could do something like that. Is it worth to get Raya and to go -4? Who are you selling? Who is the best Livramento replacement? 8 Nori, AWB, Bradley. Bradley for this week, but then afterwards, problem. 8 Nori I really do like. Yes, I would probably be tempted by 8 Nori long term. But I think Wan-Bissaka outscores 8 Nori this game week. So yeah. Yeah, otherwise you go something like this. And we go Palmer to Mbeumo and Jacob Murphy to Bowen. And we keep Savinho in the team, but we have no Saka, which is a little bit controversial. And we accept that this team long term is tempting. We get Bowen for Southampton at home. And we got Mbeumo in for Parma with a home game against Brighton, who do concede goals. This is very tempting if I can just ignore De Bruyne and Saka, which is quite hard to. But let me show you how this would look and why I do think there is benefit to this. And obviously ignoring Rodgers as well. So you're trying to maybe unnecessarily be a bit different, but I think there is huge upside if you do get it right. Huge upside. So, this is how it would look. Hopefully you guys can see this okay. And why I do think this is a consideration. Savinho minutes, look, I think we are all of the opinion that Savinho is going to get rotated at some point. But do I even think De Bruyne could do the business against Everton? Like, I don't get the love of bringing in De Bruyne for the Everton game. I think that's a really tough game. Like, why are we suddenly thinking Everton are great? Do you know what I mean? So look, that to Kivior, I'm talking about doing... What was it I spoke about doing? Keeping Savinho, doing Murphy out to Bowen, and doing Palmer out to Mbeumo. For context, guys, team would look like this. Bench boost active, and I think that's tasty. I think that's really tasty. And the reason why I love it is because, yes, it's got no Saka. Yes, it's got no Rodgers. And yes, it's got no De Bruyne. But game week 34, free hit. Game week 35, one free transfer. But boy, oh boy, does this team look good. Raya at home against Bournemouth, we'd probably start. Kivior over Livramento. Maybe Savinho, if we get the news, and play that. Don't love Villa double defence. I've only got it because I wildcarded it in, but I wouldn't be choosing it if I was transferring in somebody. Game week 35 looks fantastic. And then game week 36, if we do get the double game week in Man City, Martinez in, Konsa in for Munoz, Livramento in for Kivior. We've already got Bowen away against Man United. Great. Mbeumo away against Ipswich. Great. Don't have Saka away against Liverpool. Don't care. Don't need it. Savinho could go if we wanted to. But what's great about game week 36 is we have that additional transfer to be flexible. So we could do Mateta out to Chris Wood, get that Leicester at home game. Lots and lots of opportunities. Could even do Rodgers in this game week if we wanted to. So yes, lots to ponder, guys. And we're going to have to wrap up the stream in a minute. I do apologise. But I will try and obviously post my team ASAP when I do make those moves. I am just waiting on this Man City team news. That's why I haven't made any moves yet, guys. That's all. That is the only reason why I haven't made any moves. Let's answer some questions, though. But I can't see anything on online, guys. I can't see anything online about Man City. I don't think we're going to get anything either, which is quite annoying. Okay, let's answer some questions for the next couple of minutes before we wrap it up. So, Savinho minutes, we'll hopefully get some news on that. I think they're going to be okay. Bowen in for Murphy for -4 for long-term viable on. Yes, I don't mind that as part of a -4. I don't love it for this week. I like it long-term. It's worth noting. If you look at the -4 as a long-term investment. Is Rashford a good option to replace Savinho? I personally think Rashford starts one and is benched in the other. Personal opinion. Luis Diaz could be a great one-week punt. Not a huge fan long-term myself. Is taking a -4 for Williams to concert worth it? No, I don't think so. I don't see a clean sheet for Aston Villa at either of these games. Captaincy, currently I've got it on Marmouche. If I choose De Bruyne over Saka, will it damage my team if Saka returns? Of course, because you don't own one of the most owned players in this game week in isolation. But that's always the case with this game, unfortunately. Bowen captain this game week smart, a brilliant differential if you want to go there. Personally, though, I would still lean towards a double game weeker. Should I captain Marino? I think there are better picks out there that have doubles. What about O'Reilly? Could go there, but he is a midfielder, and I don't think that is worth it. If he was a defender, maybe different. Why do you not have Saka? Because I haven't made my transfers yet. But Palmer to Saka is currently on the agenda. What I'm showing here is a bit of an alternative of doing Palmer to Mbeumo and doing Murphy to Bowen as more of a long-term perspective. Because personally, I think long-term, I think Saka is not a good pick long-term. But I think for this game week in isolation, I think he's 30 minutes against Ipswich, 80 against Palace. And I think that's better than both Mbeumo and Bowen in that scenario. That is kind of my thought process there. But I feel like you are then looking to get rid of Saka pretty soon. Just seeing if there's any other news, and I can't see anything. No. I can't see any sort of Man City news, by the way, which is a bit annoying. But, of course, we still have half an hour. Yeah, so we'll be on TikTok because I have to get on there. I apologise, guys. Burn for Munoz for a -8? No, don't like that at all. Right, guys, I'm unfortunately going to have to wrap it up there. I will post my team in the community section on YouTube, or you can check it out over on TikTok. Currently, team looks like this, but if you said to me right now, what are you going to do? I think I will be boring, and I will do Palmer to Saka, Murphy to Rodgers, and just get it done, and lean into those players that have guaranteed minutes, well, quote-unquote guaranteed minutes, over the foreseeable. So that's how we're looking. Captaincy, I will almost certainly go on Marmouche. So thanks so much for tuning in, guys. If you did enjoy it, drop a like on the stream and hit that subscribe button. And I'll see you in the next video. We're going to wrap it up there, though. I'll see you on TikTok. Take care.